Brother Tyler Perry, that's impossible, brother. Your son knows he's black, and he knows those other children are not black. He knows what race he is, which means your education for him should have already began when he first made you aware that he knew what race he was around the age of 4 or 5. He should already be 2-3 years into his racial education by his celebrity father. Don't get me wrong, Tyler Perry. It's important for you, and it's important for all black parents to let their children know what I teach you about race and racism, you are not to take to the world. That's rule number 1. Your education with your child about race and racism is between you and your child. It is not for your son to go to school and tell his white classmates that I'm the father of civilization. All of you come from me. You would not be where you are, white students, had it not been for the enslavement of my ancestors. There's no need for that. There's no need for that. That could harm your son. It could harm you. I always and I routinely tell black parents, teach your children that their racial education is a confidential thing. It is a secret thing that stays in this family. What I teach you about being black, what I teach you about white racism, you will keep it to yourself. You are never to divulge it. Now, if the teacher asks you a question about an African hero, if the teacher asks you a question about an African event, you can answer that with the information I taught you, but you do not give them the beliefs and principles that I teach you. You can answer questions about black history. You can answer questions about black heroes. You do not ever divulge the principles and beliefs that I teach you about blackness and racism. Because guess what? The white parents tell their white children. You don't ever say this around black people. The Asian parents tell their Asian children. You don't ever say this about black people. When you are around them, you act like there's no differences. When you are around them, you treat them how you want to be treated. But always keep in mind, you are not them and they are not you. We must educate our children properly. So number 1, when your child lets you know that they're black, they know they're black, they know they're different, your education must begin. It must begin. Remember, your child is going to be educated anyway. I'm sure there's probably not a Black History class at your son's school. I'm sure there's probably not a Black History club at your son's school. I'm pretty sure nothing even is done for Black History Month at your son's school. I'm pretty sure of that. So your son is being programmed about white supremacy, white history, the greatness of whiteness. And the fact that your son doesn't describe his friends in any way, shape, form, or fashion by race tells me he might possibly be dealing with some racial identity issues. Some racial identity issues. This is one of the problems with the children of academically elite, socially elite, financially elite black parents. We wait too long to begin educating them about race and racism. I'm not talking about you, Tyler Perry. I don't live in your house. I'm using your situation to educate all black parents, and I hope you don't mind this. This is not a condemnation. It's not a criticism. It's not a dismissal or cancellation. I'm simply using your conversation as a teaching moment for black parents. On average, rich black parents wait too long to educate their children about race and racism. And here's the problem. Tyler Perry, you might say, Dr. Umar. Tyler Perry, you might say, Dr. Umar. Brother Perry, you might say, Dr. Umar, what's wrong with waiting until he's 8 or 9? You know what's wrong, Tyler Perry, about waiting until your son is 8 or 9 to tell him about race? You know what's wrong with that? If you wait until he's 8 or 9, the programming he's getting from his white teachers, his white school, the programming that he's getting from white society, white media, white internet, white peers, the programming he's getting from his white peers will have already solidified his racial consciousness, his racial identity, and more important, Brother Perry, his racial self-esteem. I don't care how wealthy you are, your son's racial self-esteem can be devastated if you wait until he's 8, 9, or 10 to tell him about race, because his friends are not as politically mature as their parents. Your son's white and Asian classmates are not as politically mature as their parents. White parents know what not to say around black people. White adults know what not to say around black people, and even they slip up sometimes. So when your son is playing with them white kids and playing with them Asian kids, they are going to inadvertently say disrespectful things about black people. They're going to inadvertently say disrespectful things about your son's skin color. They're going to inadvertently say disrespectful things about what their parents taught them about Africans. And here's the question, Tyler Perry. Again, I'm using you as a metaphor, a representative example. I'm not singling you out. Here's the thing, Brother Tyler. Does your son know how to respectfully, non-emotionally respond to his white classmates? When there's no adults around to correct them white kids, when there's no adults around to correct them Asian kids, and they say things like black people come from Africa and Africa ain't nothing but monkeys and diseases. When they say things like black people should be happy that slavery happened because it brought y'all into a civilized society. All black men do is kill each other, make babies, sell drugs, play basketball. Does your son know how to not get angry and politely let the white boy know that with all due respect, your analysis is incorrect? Had it not been for my people, your people would still be in the caves of Europe. Well, maybe not say something to that extent, but maybe let them know my ancestors built this country. Had it not been for my ancestors, we might not even be here having this conversation. Are you aware that more than half of the critical inventions in America, everything from the sneakers you have on your feet to the car your parents drive, do you know that the lights are on right now in this school because black people invented the machine that tied the top of the shoe to the bottom? Black people invented the self-lubricating car engine that allowed your white parents to drive you into school today? Do you know that it was a black scientist, Lewis Latimer, who taught America and Europe and Asia how to light up an entire city at night, how to light up an entire industrial building at light permanently by only flipping a switch before that black man came up with that invention? Light bulbs had to be changed regularly and often. There was no such thing as continuous 24-hour lighting until the black man made it so. Do you know we invented the stoplight, the three-way light, the gas mask, the golf tee, the radio transmitter, the helicopter, the cell phone, the internet? Tyler Perry, if you don't educate your son about race and racism, he will be educated by his classmates, and they will do it in a way that destroys your son's self-esteem. You must teach him. Your son is a black boy. He's considered the menace of American society, whether his father is a mogul or not. He don't need to know that at 7, but he does need to be proud of who he is at 7, and he does need to be careful about what he says around non-Africans at 7. If you're going to tell me, Brother Tyler, that you don't think your son has encountered racism yet, I'm going to have to accuse you of being disingenuous. If you're going to tell me your son has not had a brush with racism yet at the age of 7, I'm going to have to accuse you of being disingenuous. I don't care how wealthy you are. You are not going to tell me that a 7-year-old black boy, you are not going to tell me that a 7-year-old black boy has not yet encountered race and racism. More so in your son's case. More so in your son's case. More so in your son's case because he belongs to an elite family, travels in elite circles where a lot of other black children are not present. Which takes me to another point, Brother Tyler. For the sake of your son's racial self-esteem and racial consciousness. I'm not asking you to put a Marcus Garvey t-shirt on your son. I'm not asking you to hang a red, black, and green flag outside of your house, although I would appreciate if you did. I'm not asking you to give him a red, black, and green wristband. I'm not asking you to give him African locks. But I am asking you to start introducing him to other black children. One of the biggest mistakes that financially and academically elite black parents make is you exclude your black children from black society. You exclude your black children from black society. You exclude your black children from black society. And in excluding your black children from black society, they start identifying and over-identifying with white folks. They have no connection, no relationship. They have no way of engaging the American African community or the larger African community. So when your son gets around regular black boys, I didn't say from the ghetto. I didn't say working class. I didn't say middle class. Your son can go around middle class black boys and he will still feel out of place because you have given him no psychosocial development around his own people. You have afforded your son no psychosocial development around his own people. So Tyler Perry, brother, I'm telling you, for the sake of your family, for the sake of our people, make sure your son has some play dates with some other 7-year-old black boys down in Atlanta. Make their parents sign a non-disclosure statement. Make their parents sign a non-disclosure statement because you have to protect yourself, Tyler Perry. You have to protect yourself, Tyler Perry. You're not a revolutionary Pan-Africanist like Dr. Umar. You understand me? You're not a school psychologist out here on a crusade to save every black child you can across the world. That's not you. You're not the revolutionary leader. You're an entertainer and a businessman. So make those black parents sign a non-disclosure. If you have to bring those black children to your house because you fear your son's safety, then bring the black kids to your house, Tyler Perry. Twice a month, have a Black Boys Day. You don't have to call it that. You don't have to tell your son it's that, but bring 4 or 5 black boys over there. Have a couple from the hood. Have one from a middle-class family. Have one from an upper-class family. Get another black boy from another rich and famous black man and let them come to your house and hang out with your 7-year-old son so he can get used to black children of every persuasion because we are a unique and diverse people. Yes, we share a lot. We have a common identity and we have a common experience in America. But we are still diverse in our opinions, our attitudes, our preferences, our likes. Give your son psychosocial development and exposure to other black children. But please, Tyler Perry, and I'm talking to all black celebrities and academically elite and financially elite black parents, don't isolate your children from their own people because you're rich and famous. Don't do that. He will suffer for it later in life. He will suffer for it later in life.